Hello, my loves, and welcome to Create Your Life. My name is Simone Leah, and I am your host today. And today I thought it would be really, really fun to do an EFT tapping, for it is safe to share my story. So many of us, we're a little bit afraid to put ourselves out there. We're a little bit afraid to do social media posts, or a little bit afraid to get in front of a crowd, or a little bit afraid to tell that story that could connect with someone else. And storytelling is such a powerful way to connect with other humans, and sharing who we are is such a powerful way to do that. And so this video today, or this audio if you're in the car, is really for those people who are just a little bit afraid to share their story. And so knowing that it is safe to share your story is just so powerful, and it's going to really help you in your business if that is something that you actually want to do and that is in alignment with your business. So if you are listening to this in the car as a podcast or an audio in general, you may find it a little bit tricky to follow along if you've never done EFT before. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, which means tapping on certain points along the different meridians of the body to help release energetic blockages, which is an amazing and beautiful technique, and I love it so much. But if you haven't done it before, it can be a little bit tricky to follow along on an audio. So I would recommend jumping onto the computer at some stage and just following along onto a couple of other EFT videos, whether they're mine or someone else's. Highly recommend Brad Yates. And getting to know roughly what the formula is, because that will help you follow along. I will try to say the points that we're going to tap on, but I generally only remember to say that for the first round or two, and then I just get too excited and too into it. So I will do my best today, but if you've never done EFT before, this could be one of those audios where you're better off watching the video version. But I'm super excited about this, and I can't wait to have all of you transforming and sharing your stories. Okay, guys, we're going to jump in. This is going to be super fun. Just if you're following along with me, just tap the points that I tap and repeat the words that I'm saying, and put in emotion if you can, like feel into the words that I'm saying, so that you can really let go of anything that's coming up in terms of if I'm saying some positive things, really get into those positive vibrations and positive energies. So let's do this. Follow along, do your best. Side of the hand. Even though I feel nervous and afraid, and I have some resistance to sharing my story, I deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself. Even though I feel nervous and afraid, and I have resistance to sharing my story, I deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself. Even though I feel nervous and afraid, and I feel resistance to sharing my story, I deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself. Top of the eye. I feel nervous about sharing my story. Side of the eye. I'm afraid to share my story. Under the eye. I have resistance to sharing my story. Under the nose. I don't know if I want to share my story. Under the mouth. It's daunting to share that part of me. Collarbones. I feel nervous to share my story. Under the arm. It stresses me out to think about people knowing my story and judging me. Top of the head. I am afraid that if I share my story, people won't like me. And repeat the same pattern. I am afraid that if I share my story, I'll be judged. I am afraid that if I share my story, I'll be too vulnerable. I'm afraid that if I share my story, I won't get clients. I'm afraid that if I share my story, it will be bad for my business. I'm afraid that if I share my story, it will be bad for me. I'm afraid that by being that vulnerable, I could get hurt. I'm afraid that by By sharing my story, something bad could happen. I'm afraid that if I share my story, I won't be loved. I'm nervous about taking the step to sharing my story. I'm nervous with all of the fears that I have around sharing my story. I get anxiety when I even think about sharing my story. I get anxiety when I think about doing social media posts. I get anxiety when I think about sharing in big groups. I get anxiety when I think about sharing videos or audios of my story. I get anxiety when I think about people reading my writing about my story. I just get so much anxiety. And it feels crippling. I can't move forward. I can't do it to myself. I can't share my story. I don't want to share my story. The easiest thing for me to do is stay safe and not share my story. Sharing my story is scary. Sharing my story is hard. Sharing my story is just something I'm not ready to do. But I am ready. Otherwise, I wouldn't want to share my story. If I didn't want to share my story, then I wouldn't be ready. But I do want to share my story. I want my story to help people. I want people to be able to learn from my story if they need to. I want my story to inspire others. I want my story to help others. If my story helps one other person, it will have been worth it. And I want to share my story. So it must be time. It is time to share my story. It is time for me to be vulnerable. It is safe for me to share my story. It is safe for me to be who I am. It is safe for me to be open with the people around me. It is safe for me to be open with my customers. It is safe for me to be open with my clients. It is safe for me to share who I am. It is safe for me to share what I know. It is safe for me to share what I've experienced. It is safe for me to share what I've learned. It is safe for me to share what I've been through. It is safe for me to share in whatever way I choose. Sharing feels nice. Sharing feels light. I love being able to share. Sharing my story feels easy. Sharing my story feels like the right thing to do. Sharing my story feels like the next step for me. And I'm excited to share my story. I'm excited to see if my story can help other people. I'm excited to help other people with the things that I know and have experienced. I'm excited to help others. I'm excited to give. And I know that I will also receive. I can give and I can receive. I can share with others and others will share with me. Sharing is connecting. And I want to connect. I'm excited to connect. I love being able to connect. I love what I do. I love what I know. I love who I am. I love my life. I love my story. I love everything about me. I'm ready to share me with the world. I'm ready to tell my story. I'm ready to put myself out there in whatever way I choose. I'm ready and excited to take this next step. It is so safe for me to share my story. And I deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself. How did you go? I hope you guys enjoyed that. I would highly recommend taking a couple of beautiful, deep, connected breaths and having a glass of water after that energy work. And please feel free to come back to this tapping as many times as you need to. You may need to come back a couple of times. You may just do this the once and be ready to go. Please just do it as you need to so that you get out there and share your story if that's what you want to do and if that's where you're at. I want this for you. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video and I hope that you've got a lot of value out of it. And I would love to hear your experiences with EFT. So please connect with me via comments or emails or however you want to connect. I would love to hear from you. Anyway, guys, good luck. I can't wait to hear all of your stories.